Alrighty, a very, very, very happy Thursday and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is May 21st of 2026. I hope everyone is having themselves a good day wherever you guys are at. And I know I am. Today, we are going to continue our conversation in the prime time schedule. I know I briefly went through what is on the docket for the 2026 season, but I really want to now pinpoint first coming up games that I show interest for and why I show interest for. So we'll talk about that a little bit more at length today. Want to just focus in on football and baseball. Yesterday, I discovered, I don't know if it was announced yesterday or at some point earlier this week, with Aaron Rodgers returning to Pittsburgh and a clear indication that he's done after this season. Okay, he says this is it, and if that's the case, then so be it. Hall of Fame career by all means necessary, but he's reuniting with Mike McCarthy, and I feel like now since that decision has been made, we can kind of put the cherry on top of the AFC North. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. Obviously, the Reds have a day off, and does it feel good for a moment? Doesn't it feel relief for a moment that this Reds team picked up a series win? A series win against a team that's probably considered one of the hottest teams in baseball today. After and the last time that they really picked up a series win was 2 weeks ago against the Astros at home. And we're trying to pinpoint this turning regression. Is this the same Reds team we're going to see throughout the course of the regular season? Or is this going to be the team that is going to have their ups and downs, but they're going to find themselves again? And it seems to me, from what I've seen on the field, from the statistics that we're seeing on the field, off the field, that this Reds is starting to turn themselves around. And we may be in another hunt for a positive run here as we end a month that we probably want to forget this season. So we got a little bit more information to talk about today as they have an off day. They come back to Great American Ballpark and they get ready for the St. Louis Cardinals, which is a hot team in the National League Central. But I wanted to start conversations off about some positives with the Cincinnati Reds. And Eugenio Suarez is finally back in the lineup. Last night, he was the designated hitter for the Cincinnati Reds AAA team for the Louisville Bats. And he was batting third, and was 1 for 4 last night. And there's a possibility that we could see Suarez back in the Reds lineup as soon as Friday night when we take on the Cardinals. I remember when Suarez got hurt to begin with. It was batting practice on April 24th, 25th, and we were getting ready for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was taking BP when he was scratched from the lineup because of an oblique strain. Timetables are unclear about that. And I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I was a bit scared to see Suarez be out of this lineup for any periods of time. He doesn't I haven't yet seen him perform the way he used to perform compared to last year. And I remind myself that that's the reason why the Reds picked him up. When you hit 50 home runs and you have a season like you did last year among two ball clubs, I mean, let's face it, what team is not trying to pick you up and say, bring some of that over to us? But I feel like Suarez brings a lot more to the lineup than just his power. He's grown. He's grown up since his time in his younger days with the Reds. He's experienced and been around the town a little bit since his time with the Reds. So we didn't bring him back in because his 50 home runs. Yes, he's a hitting guy. He definitely has proved that. And we're hoping that things are different this time around. But he is also a veteran at this game. He is a veteran at this sport. And we can use a veteran in the mix of, you know, with Sal Stewart, with Cruz and McLean, who is all being brought up and still trying to develop themselves, to be honest. He is, to me, the announced captain of this entire team, and his presence, not only in the lineup but in the dugout, speaks volumes. And when you put him in the lineup, well, you start throwing in the, people, players have success batting around him because pitchers have to determine and teams have to determine if they are going to pitch to him or pitch around him. And if you have to pitch around the first two guys before getting to Suarez and they end up on base, oh boy, what could Suarez do is an endless amount of possibilities. If you decide to pitch around Suarez and he could get on base, you have to pitch to someone else, giving them the opportunity to go yard. And so Suarez is a valuable player, not just for his performance, but for his veteranship on and off the field for this organization. So, yes, there is a key importance for Suarez to be back in this lineup. And if he can return this weekend into this lineup, I think that speaks volumes. And him only being out for a month, and you kind of think it's kind of interesting. Since he's been out, the Reds haven't been playing their best baseball, so to speak. Hopefully things turn back around. But he was down in Louisville yesterday. He was the designated hitter yesterday. He's supposed to be playing third base. That game just started here out there in Columbus. If you have MLB uh, the MLB at bat, you could probably check out those minor league games. So if you're wanting to watch Suarez do what he does best, you can watch it. But it's some positive news coming from the Cincinnati Reds organization. It's something that we've been enduring for a couple weeks now, is one thing after another, which led to us. I'm not making excuses, but it's great to hear some good news following the Cincinnati Reds organization. Well, the another good news that we can briefly celebrate about is that the Reds picked up a 9-4 win over the Philadelphia Phillies in yesterday's afternoon ball game. I think the highlight came from Spencer Steer, who hit it to the second deck in the ninth inning after leading 7-4, extending their lead to 9, which concluded into a victory. Sal Stewart went 4 for 5, had 2 RBIs. Andrew Abbott had a solid outing. He pitched 5 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, a home run. And as I mentioned, one of the better teams in all of baseball right now, just as of right now, as we speak, the Reds were able to take 2 out of 3. And I think that is something worth noticing because it only takes a series win. It only takes a victory to start something. And as much as, when we talk about Suarez coming back, when you talk about this run that we've been in the month of May, we're looking for those little sparks, those simple victories where one win can turn things around and elevate to something special. Now, you know, I think this is a great time this week to see something like this happen. And I say that because we are about to go into a 3-game series against the Cardinals, who unexpectedly is probably the most highlighted team in the NL Central, if not in the National League itself. I'm not saying that they're the best team, but if out of every team right now you expected to play well to be where they're at in the standings, the Cardinals are on that list. They're taking young talent, developing them, shaping them up, and sprinkling a little bit of fairy dust. And they're finding ways to win ball games. So this weekend is not a walk through the park. We still haven't proven anything ourselves. But it's going to be a fun series because this series also, just like Pittsburgh, just like Chicago, when we see Milwaukee, we have to prove to ourselves that we can win divisional games. For the longest time, as far back as I can remember, the Cincinnati Reds have fallen to the St. Louis Cardinals. We've always been terrible when it comes down to playing our division. A matter of fact, the last time I can remember the Reds playing good against any divisional team is in recent years with the Chicago Cubs, and that's kind of it. So wouldn't it be nice to come back home and take another 2 out of 3 games at home against the Cardinals? Wouldn't it be nice having, keeping that 500 record, right? So this is where we're at. If you're looking at the standings, we are 26-24. We are 2 games above 500 in baseball. So if we drop the series, we are 500, or we're 1 game above 500. If we get swept by the Cardinals, we are 1 game under 500 at the end of this weekend. If we can at least win the series and keep that winning record heading into Memorial Day on Monday, where we go to New York and take 3 games against the Mets. Right now, it's a battle, a claw, a grind just to stay above float. Because once we get below 500, I'm sure as well as it is very difficult for us to get out of. A victory yesterday against the Phillies wrapped up a road trip where we went 3-3 over the last 6 games. Like I said, just let's use this series as confidence and continue to claw and fight for this division, or even for a play or a wild card contention. I'm every couple of weeks I still analyze where my expectation lies with this organization. Okay. And my expectation with this organization well, let's start off. Our offense is still trying to perform. We're going to have good and bad moments. Our bullpen needs to be taking the workload off, and I think that they perform well when the workload's taken off of them, which means our starting rotation needs to have the expectations of at least minimum of 5 innings. I would like to see between 5 and 6 solid innings. The more innings you could go, obviously, the better for your bullpen. And we've already seen certain pitchers able to even to go 7 innings from time to time. So when you look at Andrew Abbott yesterday going 5 2/3 of an inning, that was good enough for me. But could you really expect anything less? I feel like that is the average expectation of any organization's starting rotation is for pitchers to go at least 5, if not 6 innings per outing. If we can't sit here and compare ourselves to the Dodgers or to the Braves or to the Yankees or, to any other great ball clubs out there right now, where they may be able to have their rotation go a solid 5 innings. One thing that we can't do is drop down to having consistent 3 to 4 inning outings. And so when I look at if I look at a starting pitcher from the Reds and they go 5 solid innings, 6 solid innings, doesn't matter what the score is. I mean, yeah, it can maybe a upside, but just going in there, allowing our bullpen to focus in on the back 3, maybe 4 innings, I think is a decent outing. 3 hits allowed, not too bad. 2 runs allowed given. A home run, okay, 1 home run. The walks, 3 could be a little bit better. And the strikeouts, you know what? What can you give for? Has your expectations been high all this season for the Reds? Or have you have to check yourself and say, what was my real expectation for the Reds? Were they lower than where they should be at right now? Let's get down into the National League Central. Yesterday, the Milwaukee Brewers shut out the Chicago Cubs 5-0. And the Pittsburgh Steelers also shut out the St. Louis Cardinals 7-0. Milwaukee has a travel day along with Chicago. Today, the Pittsburgh Pirates take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Pittsburgh enters in with a 25-24 record as the Steelers enter in with a 28-20 record. That first pitch is coming your way at 1:15 today. There's this article on MLB.com, okay, that talked about Milwaukee's power when it comes to being a strong team. It was written by Thomas Harrigan on MLB.com, and the title of the article says, "History says you can't score without power. This team is proving you wrong." So my first thought of this titlement, I said to myself, well, he's not wrong. Teams need to have some sort of power, and I think power comes along with the territory. If you are a good team, you're going to be powerful. But I also thought about the Reds situation. Now, sure, the Reds have their own power, but can teams also win by just playing fundamental baseball? Can teams score runs by just playing fundamental baseball? Well, in this article, when you look at the season's top 10 run scoring teams, only one club stands out. So the top 10 is in this order. We have the Nationals at number 1, Braves, Dodgers, Brewers, Yankees, Pirates, Cubs, Rays, D-backs, and Twins, which the Twins hold about 4.5 runs per game, where the Nationals average about 5.5 runs per game. Now, the Brewers kind of stand out because along in the line in this chart next to it, it counts to this date the number of home runs that those ball clubs have hit. And the Nationals, who lead number one, Braves, Dodgers, number 2 and 3 in this, are anywhere between 61 to 69. The Yankees have a total of 73, and they are ranked behind the Brewers, who sit at 33 home runs. So the Brewers average more runs per game to the team that leads Major League Baseball with the most home runs, from my understanding, according to this list. Milwaukee is the only team that's in the 30s. So what I take from this is that either Milwaukee has really good pitching and is keeping their team or keeping their opponents from scoring in runs, which means they're only allowing 1, 2, maybe 3 runs at most per game. But here they're averaging about 5, which then means that they have to produce more home runs. But they're not, or they have to produce more runs in general, but then it's not through the home runs base. It's through simple bloops and a blast, is simple singles, RBIs, walks, doubles, base running. There's other categories that affect and contribute to an organization scoring runs. Now, Milwaukee has the fewest home runs hit recorded this season. Matter of fact, the top 5 has the Reds at 36, Marlins at 39, the Rays and Giants at 41, then they're tied for 4th. And sure. I think it does just prove to the statement that you don't need to be a powerful team, hitting team. You don't need to hit 100 home runs in a season in order to put up runs to win games. The Brewers have not been loading up on other types of extra base hits either. The record is 78 doubles and 5 triples for a total of 116 extra base hits, fewest in MLB this season. Their ground ball rate is 51%. That's a 4.5% higher than any other team as of Wednesday. Brewers have created a frequent traffic of on base by putting a lot of balls in play by drawing walks. So they're being very self-disciplined when it comes down to plate appearances. They're being very selective on the balls that they do make contact with. They're not going up there and playing, let's see what the first ball comes to mind. They ranked 4th in the majors in strikeout rates at 20%. Their walk rate is 11.2%, and they're tied for 3rd with a percentage of .335 on base percentage. Despite their lack of extra base hits, Brewers have constantly battled with runners in scoring position. The only 3 Cubs have taken more plate appearances with runners in scoring position than Milwaukee, who sits at 561 this season. The Crews excels at the art of manufacturing runs in scoring position opportunities, ranking 2nd overall in steals, 54, and 3rd in success sacrifice bunts, in 14. Now, traffic is all great on the bases, but it only means something if you could bring them home. The Brewers do it consistently. Milwaukee has MLB fourth highest batting average is 289 with runners in scoring position. They're also second in most RBIs at 195 of any team in those situations. They also have MLB leading 24 hits and 20 of them singles with bases loaded. So are we catching the key of this here? Milwaukee is not hitting home runs. They're not knocking in triples. They only have 78 doubles this season. Simple base hits, simple plate discipline that leads into walks, which accumulate to working the count, forcing your opponents to get into your bullpen and have high pitch counts. And when you get later into the game and when you're having you use the same pitchers multiple times in the series, it's just the simple fundamental of putting the bat to the ball and getting on base at any means necessary. The Brewers just got done sweeping the Cubs earlier this week at Wrigley Field, taking over first place in the division. The crew came up with 19 runs on just 32 hits. They also recorded 11 walks with 4 doubles and a triple and 3 home runs. They struck out only 20 times, and they went 13 for 33, batting a 3.494 with runners in scoring position. Now, yeah, this is a rare thing to see out of a success team. It's only been 30 years since the team record at least 237 runs over their first 47 games while hitting no more than 33 home runs, which is what the Brewers done this season. The Padres in 1996 recorded 239 runs with only 29 home runs in through the first 47 games. I read this article, and there is an importance to this article. It's not just the rarity of what Milwaukee is doing here. And it's more of a trusting the process and you'll see results, just like how St. Louis is doing the same thing. But I say that is because as a team who's in our division, as a team who, for the Cincinnati Reds, who have to be able to adjust, we as an offensive perspective, when we know our bullpen is struggling, when we know our rotation doesn't give us consistent outings, how can we help our bullpen and our pitching staff offensively? That is by producing more runs. Well, how do you produce more runs? One, by getting on base, whether that's a walk, whether that's a base hit. Let's not hit for home runs. Let's not hit for doubles. Being smart around the bases, know when to steal, know when to be base aggressive, and attempt and try to better ourselves in runners in scoring positions to keep us away from close scoring games. If Brady Singer goes out there and you can tell that he's not having a good outing, racking up those runs up to 7, having a 5, 6, 7 run lead when we go over to the bullpen helps this organization out. I'll tell you this, even for a starting pitcher, when you have runs available to that you could allow, knowing that, hey, if our team's up by 4, if I have an inning where I give up a run, maybe 2, I'm still in good, configuration. That builds confidence in our rotation. You put much more pressure on in the 4th, 5th inning trying to keep it scoreless if we don't put up any runs. So it's something that as an organization we can look at and try to learn and take away from the Milwaukee Brewers. Because whatever's happening, they're doing something right. They're in first place of the NL Central. They just got off of a sweep. And I tell you, we haven't faced them yet, but we got to be able to adapt and change. And sometimes, we can't, we're not going to be able to adapt and change to what the Dodgers do, but maybe we can adapt a little bit and inherit a little bit of what Milwaukee does. You can read the full article down there on MLB.com, but I thought that was something worth highlighting. You know, our minor league system has some really good talent coming through and through. And I say that because I see it on social media all the time. I watch them perform all the time. And our system, you kind of just ask yourself, well, how do you plan for our farm system to call up? Alfredo Duno is a catcher down in our high A organization, the Dayton Dragons. And he's playing some really good baseball right now. And, you kind of elevate to asking yourselves, well, if he's playing so good, if and when does we call him up? And how high do we call him up? Well, he's in high A right now, which is single A to me. I call it, and I know that's not the interpretation, but I call it triple A, double A, single A, low A. But apparently minor league baseball is triple A, double A, high A, and then single A. I don't know. It's too many organizations. But at some point, you recognize it. People in Cincinnati's recognizing the talent. I hear it all the time. I would, consider by the end of this year, he's up to double A. Or if not the second half of the season, he's up in double A. Maybe after the All-Star break, he goes up to double A, plays the back end of that season with the Lookouts, and then possibly fight for a triple A spot. You have Edwin Arroyo right now, and Noelvi Marte, let me mention, are batting above 300 with the bats. Well, if they're playing well, why aren't we bringing them up to perform? Well, for one, Edwin Arroyo is a shortstop. Who is at shortstop right now? Ellie De La Cruz. So we're not moving him anytime soon. There's been conversations that maybe Arroyo can move over to second, play second base. What do you do with Matt McLean from there? Does that get brought over to third? I know there is also extensive conversations about the future of Key Brian Hayes. I know it's kind of one of those contracts where we just kind of have to chew it up, eat it, and pray that he turns himself around offensively after a while. I don't know what value he is on a trade block. I don't think we want to eat up that contract. And as long as he's on the team, it's not like he's going to go down to Triple A unless we're completely done with him. So it opens up those questions at second as well. And I just ask myself, well, if you're performing good in AAA, you kind of the instances get called up, especially when we're having offensive trouble down at the major league level. Let's talk about Noelvi Marte. It's kind of hard. He wasn't performing at the major league level last month. He goes down to AAA, and he's having himself a really he's kind of one of the top star powers on that roster, and yet I just wouldn't trust calling him up anytime soon. Just my opinion. But these are conversations to keep in the back of our mind because it is depth that we could use. It is a blue chip that we could use for a possible trade. And it's either bring them up, when they're ready and they show that they're ready, or get rid of them. If we put Arroyo on the market, what organization out there that could use a shortstop or a second baseman that has value to provide to us? Right now, our value we are looking at is in our bullpen, right? or a right-handed power batter in the outfield, specifically right field. So, earlier this week, the Dodgers and the Padres had a series out in San Diego at Petco Park. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm a biased Padres fan here, but San Diego has a lot of hype for their team. I think whenever I went out to Petco Park for the Padres and Dodgers, it was always sold out. It was always beat LA chants, and they take it very seriously. Now, the Padres and Dodgers aren't historically in a division rival as big as the Yankees and Red Sox, but they are better at the moment than the Giants and the Dodgers. And I think it has taken notice over the past few years because the Padres in the past few years are the team that has been able to go toe to toe with the Dodgers in competition for division. Matter of fact, the Padres beat the Dodgers a few years back in the divisional round and went on advancing in the playoffs. On Monday, the Padres shut out the Dodgers 1-0. Mason Miller rose to the occasion, and it was all fine and dandy. Mason Miller comes back around and gets one laid on him, dropping the lead in the ninth inning to lose on Tuesday 5-4. And Shohei Ohtani's been able to do it, on the mound and with the bat. They shut out the Padres 4-0 on Wednesday. And I highlight this series because to me in baseball today, the Padres and Dodgers is one of the most exciting series whenever they meet to watch. I like it specifically in San Diego because I feel like the Dodgers believe that it's overrated and their hype for it doesn't live up to the sensation of how Padres fans show up and show out to it. And there's a handful of series rivalries that we watch here today. Dodgers, Red Sox, and Yankees. I'll still throw back the Dodgers and Giants, which is a big thing. The Cubs and Cubs and Milwaukee, I think, is recently. But with how good the Cardinals have been playing, I can almost see the Cardinals and Reds becoming a trend because on paper, coming into this weekend, the Reds look much better than the Cardinals overall, but how they are playing in the stats gives us question of how good the Cardinals could actually be. They shouldn't be that good, but they are. And so, you know, I know we find trouble in series like with Pittsburgh, and it's like, well, how can you move on to another series if, with the Cardinals and Reds, if we have to be able to tackle on Pittsburgh in our division? But I really think that a division rival series that I think stands out to most to me is the Reds and Cardinals, the Cardinals and Cubs, Cubs and Brewers, Cardinals and Pirates in that sense. But we could take something away from the Dodgers and Padres and try to bring that hype over. Here's a NBA update here. Playoffs continue. Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the San Antonio Spurs 122-113. They tied the series one apiece. Their next game will be on Friday in Game 3 in San Antonio. Tonight at 8 p.m., available on ESPN, you can watch the Cavaliers take on the New York Knicks. The Knicks lead the series 1-0. In NHL, the Las Vegas Golden Knights beat the Colorado Avalanche with the final score of 4-2. The Golden Knights won their first game of the series. They are at 1-0. Their next game is on Friday in Colorado. Today at 8 p.m. on TNT, you can watch the Canadians take on the Hurricanes. That is your NHL NBA playoff update. I'm rooting for the Hurricanes and Golden Knights. I think that would be great for Stanley Cup finals. And then the NBA finals, the Knicks and the Thunders are my predictions. Follow along there. All right. In Big 12 conference baseball play yesterday, we saw Baylor beat BYU, final score of 13-9. We also see Kansas State beat TCU with the final score of 9-4. They both advance to the next round of the quarterfinals, which are going to be played today. Kicking things off already under progress, may even be done at this moment. I am unsure. According to the Big12Sports.com bracket, Oklahoma State takes on UCF. That was available on ESPNU. At 12:30, just getting underway, Baylor takes on Kansas. Kansas State takes on West Virginia at 4:30 p.m. on ESPNU, and Cincinnati takes on Arizona State at 8 p.m. And this is all local time for them. So I think the game 9 a.m. That's noon. So that game just started just now, and then they will be uh, advancing here later on. That is your college uh, baseball playoff update there. All right. Yesterday, we here on our show discovered that Aaron Rodgers will be returning to Pittsburgh for one final season of his Hall of Fame career, um, reuniting with Mike McCarthy and possibly having one final run in the AFC North at a postseason opportunity, at a division championship, and possibly at the Super Bowl. Now, I feel like just getting to this point was necessary. And I say that because that was one thing for Pittsburgh that they didn't know the answer to. Are you going to start the season with Drew Aller as your quarterback? Were you going to have to find a quarterback on the free agent market or make a trade? Or was Aaron Rodgers coming back? And, you know, it wasn't really a lot of doubt whether or not Aaron Rodgers was coming back. I didn't care if he comes back. It didn't tarnish anything. It didn't ruin anything for me. But the length of his decision, I felt, impacted the focus point of what the Steelers did. They took a big gamble in saying, we are going to let Aaron Rodgers do whatever he wants to do this summer, and then he will make the decision, and we are going to gamble that his decision was to come back and play for the Steelers. So I don't feel like the Steelers were 100% ready if he didn't decide to come back. Now, does this mean that Aaron Rodgers plays this entire season? Well, out of respect, I feel like this year the Steelers should focus and highlight every stop that Aaron Rodgers makes and try to give him a season where they leave nothing on the line or everything on the line. Do or die for the Steelers, right? I feel like at least that's owed to Aaron Rodgers. But I also value the importance of educating and shaping your future. I don't know if Drew Aller is the future quarterback for the Steelers, but one thing that we do know is that beyond this season, the Steelers need to focus on what their future looks like without Aaron Rodgers. The same conversation that we had when Ben Roethlisberger was exiting Pittsburgh was, what did the future look like? And the first time Pittsburgh failed with Mason Rudolph, I don't think he's gotten any better. Do they find success with Drew Aller? Can they circle around him and build the team around him? And I think that they have some key players, but this also finalizes to me and shapes up to what the AFC North is to look like. Okay, think about this. The Steelers and the Ravens made it to the postseason last year. Don't ask me how the Steelers made it. If they could have a repeat, I think that would be great competition. Steelers find their quarterback. They made their offseason moves. They're locked in set for the season. The Browns, who look to grow with the younger talent that they have offensively, along with their veteran talent and probably the best defense in the entire division, looking to make something out of themselves with who they have. Joe Burrow is healthy again. He's looking happy as well. We'll get to that in a moment. And then the Ravens are in a new direction beyond John Harbaugh. And honestly, has presented to myself that the AFC North, if not is, probably going to be the division I would argue to say keep an eye out. Watch every game, every match out, how it unfolds, because until we actually see the performance, on paper, it looks like the top tier division. Now, I feel like that's just that, right? So this offseason, and I hate to, because I mean, I'm hyped up for who we got. I hyped up for who we drafted. But realistically, it doesn't matter who you get. It doesn't guarantee an outcome for the season. I want to make that transparent. I remember when Aaron Rodgers comes in to New York, and not within even the first 15 minutes of the game, he is out for the season. For a quarterback to come in, that's a game changer, them being out. Joe Burrow last season, we had all this this offensive hope that that offense was going to carry the Bengals to the promised land and put their defense on their shoulders and say, hey, we'll carry you. We'll match up the points. He gets hurt. We think that these are good players. We think that they're going to give us some really good outcomes, but we really don't know. Which then leads me into this. The Cincinnati Bengals did the front office did their due diligence this offseason. If this is the last move that they've made, then so be it. They have picked up and addressed the big concern that the Bengals needed to address, and that was defense. Is there always room to add more? Sure. But if this settles out today, they address that, both in free agency, both in and also in the draft. So Duke Tobin and Mike Brown and the entire front office has responded to the fan base, to the players, and to the coaching staffs of what we needed to do to improve this team. The pressure, the ball has hit back into the other court. And what's the other court? The pressure's now been put back onto Zach Taylor, this coaching staff, and the players. It's going to be up to the players to perform that's what they're getting paid to do. It's up to the defense to pay off everything that they have unstructured over this past few months. And it's up to the coaching staffs to create this developing plan to help better this team from a season that they did last year. Now, if all that could be done, there is the utmost confidence to me that the Bengals are in competitive situations for the playoffs. It's going to be very competitive and very fun to intriguing to see the Bengals going up against the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns this year, along with the Chiefs, along with the Buccaneers, along with the Panthers. but the pressure has officially been pushed over. And now it's up to the front office and to the players to get the job done. Hey, you needed this. We got you it. It's not let's make do with what we have. It's we got you what you needed. Go out and win a division title. Go out and go back to the Super Bowl. The NFL primetime schedule, we kind of just went through yesterday on our show. I want to go back and just briefly speak of just matches that I like out of the primetime notion. Okay. So I'm going to jump into the NFL Network. These are all games. These are the London series, a lot of international games that are taking place at 9:30 in the morning on the NFL Network. Um, so the Colts and Commanders. To me, does that draw interest? No. The Eagles and Jaguars. Is there any interest values? No. The Texans and Jaguars. Well, possibly. It's a division rival. It's the AFC South. Uh, and there is a chance that that would actually be an interesting matchup. The Steelers and Saints, I think, for where it's located at in France, draws a interesting perspective, and tune into it. And then the Bengals and Falcons, which it's the Bengals. Although the opponents are the Falcons, this is neutral territory, with all due respect. So on my list, by default, I got the Bengals and Falcons, but there's really just two that draws my attention that if I really wanted to stop what I'm doing, to sit down on a Sunday morning, not have a reason not to go to church or not to do anything and watch football, those are going to be the two series. Now, given it's international series. Whenever you can get extra football on television and you don't have to choose, I'm going to tune in now. So I'm going to watch these games and follow. But the substantial of the value of interest for the general NFL fan doesn't draw my attention. Thursday night football. The Bills and Lions, I think, is probably the best matchup that's on this card. The Bills and Lions. And then depending how the week 17 comes into play, if the Ravens and Bengals are competing for a division championship, that may be the best game on the Thursday night football schedule, right? I'm marking those two on my calendars that I need to sit down. I need to watch. I don't care what it's on, how I need to get it. Those are the games I need to watch. And I think it's easier to follow earlier games in the season because they're already, everyone is still very even and the season hasn't shaped out yet. The Steelers and Browns, I think for divisional purposes, like I said, maybe a little bit of a biased opinion, I'll watch that game. Uh, Week 5, it's honestly the Buccaneers and Cowboys. I could see this being an Americans team and Baker Mayfield trying to have a bounce back year. I could highlight this. You got the Seahawks who are defending Super Bowl champions against the Broncos and Bo Nix. I think that would be fun. So I got an extra 2 on that. Patriots and Bills, I'm gonna maybe skip. I don't know. I don't know if I'll skip that one. Maybe question mark. Panthers, Packers, I'll skip. The Ravens, Jaguars, I'll skip. Commanders and Jaguars, Giants, excuse me, in week 10. I'll follow, but it's kind of like, hey, pop my head and see what it comes with. Same thing with the Colts and Texans. Broncos and Steelers, I think the day after Thanksgiving, the Black Friday matchup, I'll definitely tune in to watching. It then after that, it's really just going to depend what the season, what the stipulation is under. What teams are contending? What teams are facing elimination? Rams and Chiefs, I expect both teams in that mix. So that's one. Vikings and Patriots, not necessarily. The 49ers and Chargers, sure. Texas and Eagles, not necessarily. So I'm about half and half on the games that are going to be really important to tune into on Thursday night football. Monday night football. Your first one is the Broncos and Chiefs, which is Bo Nix and Patrick Mahomes, two injured quarterbacks coming back. I like that matchup. You also get the Rams and Giants. I think that's. And I'm not really. I haven't seen nothing yet from the Giants, so until I have to give them a few weeks now. If John Harbaugh and can turn that team around and they become something worth of value, that's going to change. But I don't think early on it's not like, oh, I got to see how this turns out. I will give it a couple weeks, see where they're standing at, and then tune in, see if it's worth tuning into. Eagles and Bears, just a Monday night football game. I think that one's going to create value. So I got two on the docket. Falcons and Saints, I'll pass. Bills and Rams would probably be an interesting one. That's two Monday night games for the Rams within a month from each other. You also got the Commanders and 49ers, I'll pass. Cowboys and Eagles will be a good Monday night football game. Bears and Seahawks. I would love that game to be in the rain. To say. So I'll add that. So about five. Bills and Vikings, I'll pass. Chargers or Ravens. Okay, I could tune into that. Not being a biased, but the Bengals and Commanders, Panthers, Buccaneers division game. A lot of retribution there. Cowboys, Eagles, all pass. Steelers, Jaguars are pass. Patriots and Chiefs. This comes down final 3 weeks. Just where these teams stand in the playoff hunt if they are contending. Giants, Lions, Texans, and Packers. I got about another half the schedule that is worth watching. You got Sunday night football, Patriots and Seahawks, definitely. Cowboys and Giants, yes. Colts and Chiefs, I'll tune into it with the return of Patrick Mahomes uh, as well. Um, Rams and Broncos, I'll pass on that. Lions and Panthers, I'll also pass. Ravens, Falcons, I'll pass. Cowboys, Packers, I pass. Chiefs and Seahawks, I could tune into that. Eagles and Commanders, I'll pass. Buccaneers and Bears, I'll add on to that list. Bias again, Steelers and Bengals. Then you got the Mexico one, which you'll just automatically in there on week 11 between the Vikings and 49ers. Chiefs and Bills. Definitely watching that one. Patriots and Chargers will probably seem like an interesting one in SoFi Stadium. Following that, really just where teams stand at, right? You expect the Bills and Packers to be contending in week 14. Lions and Vikings, one of those teams should be contending in 15. Jaguars and Cowboys, not too sure. And then the Eagles. And so about half of every primetime scheduled matchup, I'll tune in. Um, I think that they have an equal balance of highlighted games. And there are going to be some fun general games that just draw that excitement. But like I said, following Thanksgiving really just comes down to what does the playoff picture look like? What are the stipulations on in order for those teams to make it to the playoffs, and which one weighs more? And if they have the most weight, then I'm going to tune in and say, you know what, I'm going to watch that. By all means, let's tune in because you're selling me on that. Otherwise, if it's the Bengals game, I'll watch a little bit. If it's the division, there's just some teams that aren't showing a lot of interest. I see the Jaguars also having a good fair share. I mean, I don't really know the numbers to the T of who has the most primetime games, home or away or whatnot, but I just kept seeing the Patriots. I kept seeing the Jaguars. I don't know if it's the right selection, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm intrigued to see. I know it's early on, but what do you think about the primetime games? Are there particular games that you looking? Do you think that NFL this year with the schedule did a good job? If you go back and compare, and maybe something that we can do in the month of June is go week by week and say, all right, if I was rewriting this schedule, who was going to be Thursday night? Who was going to be Sunday night? Who's going to be Monday night? Which one would I do? Maybe we can have fun with that next month. But let me know down in the comments. That is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Please follow us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Please also follow us. You can download us and take us on the road wherever you get your podcasting needs by listening to the TNC Sports Talk. That's pretty much it. I appreciate everyone coming back. We'll come back tomorrow, wrapping up our week, get you guys ready for the weekend, Memorial Weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Justin, and this is the TNC Sports Talk. Until tomorrow, you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.